So our first checkmate is gonna be the Scholar's Mate, which is extremely practical and is only in 4 moves. It is not the fastest checkmate, but it is widely used. And the other 2 checkmates, they only work if you play pretty horrible moves. But this one, it's starting to go on the line of a real trap, not just straight out blunder. So you go here, e5, e4, e5, solid, and then bishop c4. You know what? At my level, I sometimes play, there's no shame in playing this move. And then knight c6, the classic response. And then queen h5. Now, it works if you're at a 600 level to 800, but like at my level, everyone just automatically defends it before it even starts. And we mostly go into like real opening theory. So then, knight f6. It's a really bad move and you should never do it, because then the queen just takes. This is the 3-move checkmate. It works because in most OTB tournaments, which stands for over the board tournaments, there's a rule that states if you touch a piece, you must move it. This mate works if black accidentally touches their king on move 2 and traps their king away from the defenders. So if you go e4, e5, same thing. And then queen h5. Now some people do this to play the Scholar's Mate, but bishop c4 first is better, because then the knight can go to f6 and just chase the queen away. So if you want and insist on playing the Scholar's Mate, yeah, do the queen first. So then king e7, a really bad blunder, because with queen takes e5, the king is stuck on e7. It can't move to d6, e6 or f6 because the queen blocks them out. It is on e6. It can't move. It's on e7. It can't move to e6 and it can't move to e8 because the queen also blocks it out. Now that's a one-man army. Finally, a checkmate the black does. So this is the fastest checkmate in chess, but it only works if white plays 2 horrible moves in a row. It's the fastest mate in chess. So white goes f3. Nah, no one plays that. Then e5. That's the kind of thing I would play. So our next checkmate is the fool's mate. It only works if white plays 2 horrible moves in a row. It is the fastest checkmate. So let's dive right into it. So f3, you should never play that move. And then e5, the normal move you should play. And then g4. Now that's the kind of thing Worst Fish would play. Worst Fish is an engine that uses Stockfish to, play the worst moves, and it's like opposite. The challenge is to lose to it, but let's just not get into Worst Fish. That's for another video. Also, about Worst Fish, that other video is probably gonna be me versus Worst Fish, but Worst Fish has 30 queens, so stay tuned. And then, queen h4, checkmate. 2 moves. That's faster than any checkmate in chess. It is impossible to have another checkmate that is faster. 1 move checkmate you can't, because you either move the knights or develop a pawn to do it. So it is impossible. The classical endgame checkmate. So this checkmate works by forcing your opponent to go to the edge where his king will get stuck on the edge. It can be done with 2 rooks, 1 queen and 1 rook, or 2 queens if you manage to promote a pawn. So my advice, if you're doing 2 rooks, you should keep them as far away from each other as you can. So then you can just if the king gets too close to 1 rook, you can just move it and just continue it, and vice versa until you win. But you have to win using this checkmate. So you move that rook up, so the king's only move is to go up, then the king moves up, and then you move the rook to a5 up, and then you keep repeating it until the king goes to the edge. And then you go rook h8. The king can't go more up. It's still on the edge. So it's a total checkmate. So this checkmate is the back rank checkmate. A rook or queen trap a king stuck in its own pawns. This is a really bad checkmate for you, and you should always have a space for your king to move to. Like, I blundered back rank checkmate, let's say in the past 5 months or so. I only blundered back rank checkmate 2 times, and it was in casual games, and at that time I had really little sleep. So not my fault. The rook is on b1, and it goes to b8. This traps the king in its own pawns, and the king can't move to f8 or h8 because the rook traps it, and it can't move anywhere else because the pawns trap it. That's why you should always keep a space for your king to escape. Okay, one of my favorites, this is a zigzag zoon checkmate, as we call it, named after the Pokemon Zigzag Zoon. Just anyone, if I mispronounce that Pokemon wrong, please correct me in the comments. Don't feel shy about it. So, the queen is on e1, and then you move it to e8. So the king is now trapped, and it can't move to f7, which is its only escape route, and it cannot be a back rank checkmate because the queen is blocking the f7, and if the queen was, let's say, a8, then the king could just escape. No back rank checkmate. So what to do if you have a king and a rook and your opponent only has a king? Well, you just keep chasing him down until you reach the checkmate I'm about to show you. So you move your king to f5. This is just a scenario, but just the moves could be done anywhere on any side of the board. So then the king goes to h6. The king moves, then the king moves up, and then this is the usual trap. The rook checkmates like this, and that king has no way to escape because of the other kings, and 2 kings can never touch. Remember that phrase for the rest of your life, please. The good old queen checkmate. The king and a queen chase the king and checkmate him on the edge. You can also do the rook mate, but with a queen, like exactly what I showed you last time, but with a queen. But this one is way easier, and it saves you the trouble. But if you have this in, let's say, 10 moves and a rook mate with the queen, just choose the rook mate immediately. Don't waste time. So, let's say the king moves here. Then the king moves to h6. So then the queen moves to c1. Then the king moves to h5. And then the queen goes to g5 for the checkmate. The king can't go to h6, neither can it go to h4 because it's blocked out by the queen, and it can't go anywhere out, and it's checked. So it's a total checkmate instant. Everyone's favorite, the good old battery mate. So this one works that a queen and rook team up, and they take a piece that protects the king. So it's kinda like the queen mate, but it's a battery, as they call it. The bishop and queen work together to trap the king in his own castle. This is the other kind of battery checkmate. So the king is castled. There's a bishop and queen attacking. So then if you go queen h7, this would be checkmate because the king is checked. He can't go away because of his rook. And then he can't go to h8 because the queen protects it. He can't eat the queen because the bishop defends it. This is kind of similar to the battery mate, but more complicated because the bishop cannot be taken because this would expose the king to check and would be illegal. aka a pin. So it works bishop h6. And then let's just say the pawn moves here. A good defense, but it's also a sacrifice of the rook, which is a good piece, blah, 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 blah. So I'm not taking the rook, just to illustrate it to you. Queen b2. Okay, now the king is trapped in his own scissor. He can't move anywhere. So then, let's say rook e8 check. The king moves to, like, that's what I would play in a game if I was in this position as black, to, you know, not lose the rook. But I don't think I would go into a position like this these days. So then the rook moves back, and then queen g7, checkmate. The king can't move to h8 because it would be checked, and the king is checked, and it can't move to f8 because of the rook. But even without the rook, it will be the same thing. And it's another kind of queen mate, which is just ridiculous. And last but not least, the smothered mate. As a wise man once said, never trap your king by your own pieces. This checkmate works that if you move knight c6, the king can't move to c8 or a8 because of the rooks, and it can't take because it's a pin. It's another kind of pin checkmate. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. Thank you for your time. Bye.